يعني الحرب ما حاجة
War never brings good.
تجيب خير نهائي. خير الشر ما بتجيب.
It only brings evil.
Refugee. A person forced to flee their country because of persecution, violence, or war.
We didn't believe this could potentially happen until we actually woke up in the morning, hearing the bombing going.
Today, more than 117 million people are forcibly displaced, largely driven by crises in Sudan, Myanmar, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ukraine, and Afghanistan. But behind those numbers are people. People protected by the 1951 Refugee Convention, the world's promise to safeguard those fleeing danger. Because how we treat each other at our most vulnerable, that defines us all.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name's Claire Stewart. I have the great privilege of being the Managing Director of the International Film Festival of Rotterdam, which is what brings us all here together today. As part of IFFR's overall activity, we have an incredible fund called the Hubert Bals Fund, and that fund has been trusted with being the management partner for the Displacement Film Fund. And this project has had an incredible genesis. It started at the UNHCR's Refugee Forum in December 2023, when our fearless leader, Kate Blanchett, and a number of other film-interested and engaged colleagues and supporters of UNHCR were around a shared table and came up with the idea that it would be very impactful to start a fund that would support refugee filmmakers or displaced filmmakers, and also to enable stories of displacement to be shared more widely and more prominently with the world. And so out of that moment, the seeds were sown. And this time last year, we were announcing the fund with incredible support from 5 founding partners. And I would really want to acknowledge them and welcome them here today, representatives from Mastermind, from Uniqlo, from Dromandat, and from the Amahoro Coalition and the Tamer Family Foundation. Without your generous support, this fund simply couldn't exist. And we're really grateful to you for enabling it and enabling this incredible cohort of filmmakers to to make these works. It has gone very quickly this year, I would say. It's moved with speed, which was very much the intention, because one of the reasons that the focus was on short films was because there's an urgency to get these stories out. And also the sort of full production commitment of 100,000 euros each meant that the filmmakers didn't have to wait to find match funding to go through a lengthy development process. And so that has been, well guided, and I really want to acknowledge my colleagues at HBF, and especially Tamara and Ayumi, who Tamara will be joining, but Ayumi, who has also been a terrific support to the filmmakers through this journey. I hope most of you have had the opportunity to see the films this morning. And our purpose is really to launch these films now into the world And I want to welcome our guests who are joining us to speak to the films. So first of all, Shabanu Sadat, director of Super Afghan Gym. Shabanu is an Afghan filmmaker, writer, producer. You're here next to me. I'm doing it in this order. Her debut film, Wolf and Sheep, won the top award in Directors' Fortnight section at Cannes and screened in IFFR 2017. Her upcoming feature, No Good Men, which also has backing from Hubert Bell's Fund, we're delighted by that, is the opening film of the upcoming Berlinale. So welcome, Shabanu. Hassan Katan, director of Allies in Exile. Hassan co-founded the Aleppo Media Center, a pioneering platform for citizen journalism that exposed the brutal realities of conflict in Syria. Hassan served as cinematographer for the Oscar-winning The White Helmets and assistant director on the Emmy-nominated Last Men in Aleppo. Welcome, Hassan.
Thank you.
Our fearless leader, and she truly is fearless, she needs very little introduction to people in this room, actor, producer, and global goodwill ambassador for UNHCR, the UN's refugee agency, Cate Blanchett. And Mo Haraway, director of Whispers of a Burning Scent. Mo is a Somali-Austrian filmmaker whose debut feature film, The Village Next to Paradise, was selected for the In Certain Regards section in 2024 Cannes Film Festival. Marina Ergorbach, director of Rotation. Marina is a Ukrainian writer, director, producer, and editor. She won the Directing Award in the World Cinema Dramatic Competition of Sundance for her film Klondike in 2022. And my colleague, Tamara Tatishvili, who's the head of the Hubert Bell's Fund, the management partner of this scheme, and that is a role that has built on the framework of HBF, what HBF has created over the last 3 decades to support filmmakers across the globe making groundbreaking work in often very challenging conditions. And last but by no means least, and we're hugely honoured that Mohammad Rasulov, director of Sense of Water, could be with us today. Mohammed is one of Iran's leading filmmakers who was forced to flee Iran, having received an 8-year prison sentence after The Seed of the Sacred Fig was selected for Cannes last year. Of course, the film went on to be nominated for an Academy Award, and we were very thrilled also to present it here at IFFR last year and to welcome you back, Mohammed, in what we know are very challenging circumstances. So thank you for being here. And supporting Mohammed today is Yante Roach, who will be translating for Mohammed. So, Cate, I'd like to start with you just asking the question of, I mean, I've touched a little bit on the origins of the fund, but the sort of sense of purpose and the kind of concept behind it. Could you sort of unpack that a little bit and your personal commitment to it?
Well, yes, absolutely. To say it's been a passion project is a massive understatement. But I firstly do want to thank you very much, Claire, and also Vanya Kalachercic for being such an incredible partner here at Rotterdam. There couldn't be a better place to be premiering these films. There's such a synergistic coming together, I think, here in Rotterdam, and to be here at Phoenix is an enormous privilege. I said I was going to use the word privilege over and over again today, but it really is a very great privilege to be here and to be sitting amongst these extraordinary film artists who've made films that are remarkable in and of themselves, but as a cohort, I think they've taken on a greater meaning. It's not easy to make a film at the best of times, but to make a film about that often has a personal slant under difficult circumstances, about difficult circumstances, and still find grace, good humour, and the courage to tell those stories. It's an honour indeed to be sitting here with you all. But yes, it did start back in 2023, the end of 2023, and we were at the Global Refugee Forum. Several people, Koji Yanai was there, he just made Perfect Day, so it's very alive to, you know, what filmmaking process was. And also Aisha Kuram, who was an educator and activist, who's also here today. Ayman Tamar and Isaac from the Amahoro Foundation. And Shirin Pakwa, who's also from UNHCR. I'm a Goodwill Ambassador and have been for 10 years. And we were sitting there thinking, we were asked to make a pledge about how we could support people who were displaced and refugees, asylum seekers. And we started talking to Aisha about her story and what she, you know, the things that she had gone through being a refugee herself. And we talked about the stigmas and the misunderstanding, and we were laughing, and, you know, there were many moving elements to her own personal story, and we were talking about the misapprehension and misunderstanding around issues of displacement. And the way, it's the Displacement Fund, it's talking about people who are displaced. But we also started talking about audiences and how, and it's never been more so, how displaced we are becoming from our own humanity. And the very act of telling stories is to connect you to experiences outside your own. And so we thought, how are these remarkable, surprising, effervescent, hope-filled, courageous story, which of course is the stuff of drama, which is the displaced experience, and these extraordinary filmmakers can speak to this much more than I can because they have a lived experience of it. Why? It's the very stuff of drama, so why aren't they more in the mainstream? So we made a pledge around that table that night that we were going to find ways to amplify the voices of filmmakers who are either displaced or alive to stories of displacement, and find ways to bring them to audiences in a mainstream way. And we thought this is going to take forever. Kihi Kwan was also on it, and we've been talking to the Academy over there. We started the discussion in Cannes and extended that to Rotterdam. But it came together profoundly quickly. And I must say, you know, in the over 10 years I've been working with UNHCR, the refugees and displaced people that I've met have given me so much hope, because there's no time for despair when you're displaced. And we don't have time for despair. And I think our partners and our filmmakers have been really alive to the urgency of this moment. And it's been astonishing to me and given me so much hope that this has come together so quickly. It's 18 months really since the idea really took flight, and we only talked about it at Rotterdam this time last year. So now it's upon us to find, we've got supportive partners and supportive filmmakers and amazing stories, and I can't wait for you to see them tonight. And well, those of you who haven't seen them already, but for an audience to experience it tonight. God, I'm talking a lot. But now we have to find courageous distributors, and because audiences are, you know, hungry for this sort of material. So that is the long and short of it.
Thank you, Kate. Can I also ask you now that
Yes.
No, go ahead. You go first.
Me.
No, you go first. I have another question, but I think you're preempting me, so go for it.
So, as it did come together incredibly quickly, and I must thank, as Claire has done, all the people it has been a real labour of love who've supported the fund, and Artie Louis is also here today, has come on board along with Koji, who's here today from Mastermind and Uniqlo, and Mahoro Foundation, and the Tamar Family Foundation, and of course the Hubert Bals Fund. We are going to move to a second cycle, which is just so exciting. So there's 5 filmmakers, each with €100,000 to make a film, and we're now going into a second iteration of that, which is wildly exciting.
Yeah. And definitely, I'd like to just reinforce that thanks to the SP Lohia Foundation
Yes.
for joining us on this journey, because it's already been an incredible ride, and I think you're going to enjoy it, Artie. But I also wondered, Kate, just one final question for you before I move on to our filmmakers.
Please.
What does it, having seen the films, how, given the sort of inception of the concept through to what we are now experiencing, which is the realization of it, how does it feel for you to see these films, and what was your sort of response to them?
We were talking about this before, actually, we all met up, and just saying how, Marina and I were talking about how it's really great as a filmmaker to not be prescribed to about what the story is going to be. So, of course, there were submissions made, but it's one thing to read a story on paper, and of course they're films, so it's another thing to experience them. And, you think about, it's like being a woman. The experience of being female is not monolithic. The experience of being displaced is not monolithic. There are commonalities and themes that emerge, but they're wildly different. And each film is so distinct and comes from the inner being of all of these filmmakers. But when you see them together as a sort of a suite of films, as a cohort, it's I was so alive to the different points of view, because I think we're quite unmoored from truth at the moment in the world. And of course, truth is made up from many different perspectives. And the actual form that this evening has taken, I think, is very much alive to those different perspectives. So I was absolutely thrilled, really inspired.
Thank you. I'm going to start at the far end and bring everyone close. So, Mohammed, I'd like to start by asking you about Sense of Water, which is, I found, a deeply personal, very strongly resonant film for this moment that we are living through, and about a writer in exile who is, challenged by this draw back to Iran. Could you tell us a little bit about what the film means for you in this moment, and what you wanted to achieve in making it at this moment?
اول که سلام میکنم و قبل از هر چیز میخوام از این فرصت استفاده کنم و به مردم ایران تسلیت بگم برای کشتار خیلی بزرگی که جمهوری اسلامی مرتکب شده و همدردی خودم رو با مردم ایران اعلام کنم.
First of all, hello everyone, and I'd like, before anything else, to take the opportunity to condole the people of Iran for the mass murder that the Islamic Republic has committed, and express my sense of deep shared grief with them.
درباره سوالتون، وقتی که من خودم این تجربه شخصی رو داشتم که مجبور شدم ایران رو ترک کنم، همیشه یک احساس ناشناخته‌ای بود که آیا یک فیلمسازی که وارد یه فرهنگ تازه میشه میتونه داستانایی رو تعریف کنه که به اندازه داستانی که توی فرهنگ خودش براش مسئله می شده تاثیرگذار باشه. و من خیلی تردید داشتم که به عنوان یه انسان توی فرهنگ جدید تا چه اندازه میتونم بین گذشتم و لحظه‌ای که درش زندگی میکنم یه رابطه‌ای برقرار کنم که برای مخاطب در هر جای جهان جالب باشه.
But as for your question, Claire, since leaving Iran and coming to live in Europe, it was an open question for me, but also somehow uncharted territory, how it would be to work, to make a film as a filmmaker in exile, in a new culture that I did not know very well. I didn't know if it was at all possible to create a connection between my past and my culture and the split second I was living in, the present. and tell a story that would be interesting for an audience anywhere in the world.
کنجکاوی من کاملا شخصی بود و در مواجهه با وضعیتی که درش قرار گرفته بودم اتفاق افتاده بود. بنابراین شروع کردم درباره ارزش احساسی کلمات فکر کردن و اینکه چرا کلمات با یه فاصله درک میشه، با یه فاصله بیشتر حس میشه. این فیلم از این تجربه اومد.
And so really it was a personal curiosity at the outset. And then I found myself in this circumstance. And what I really started wondering and researching was the emotional value of words and the distance, the gap between understanding a word and feeling it. And sort of that was the root of the film.
و خیلی دوست داشتم این احساس رو با همه کسانی که در شرایطی شبیه خودم هستن تقسیم کنم که ما میتونیم در فضاهای جدید به دیوار زبان رو بشکنیم و از معنای کلمات به احساس کلمات برسیم.
And so I really wanted to share this feeling with everyone in the world who is living a similar condition and show them that yes, we can break the wall of language and pass from understanding the meaning of a word to experiencing the feeling of a word in a foreign language.
با این حال این احساس رو داشتم که بعضی چیزا واقعاً چیزی فراتر از معنا و احساس هستن.
Nonetheless, I did feel that some things are more important, are somehow higher, beyond words and feelings.
شبیه چیزی که الان داره تو کشور من اتفاق میفته و من
Like what is happening in my country at the moment, and I...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Tamara, I'm going to skip you and do the filmmakers next. Marina, we have been on a very incredible journey with these productions, and your journey is particularly unique. You went back to shoot your original concept in Ukraine and found a very impossible situation, and also discovered a very interesting new kind of angle to take with your project. And I think that's one of the things that's been really interesting for us, is learning that working in this space, there's a different kind of care and a different kind of flexibility that is needed. Could you talk to us a little bit about the way that the concept for rotation came about?
Yes, sure. Before I will start to talk about rotation, I want to say that I don't understand Iranian, but I totally understand what you are talking about, and thanks that you share your emotions. Also, this is a very interesting situation, because when we were in Cannes and we were presenting the concept, we didn't have the movies and we had press conference, but now we have press conference, we have movies, but we didn't see the movies of each other. So you are much more lucky than we are. And I can talk only about my short rotation. Yeah, but I really want to see the films today night. When I got the first call about this very interesting idea, I immediately had a response, like, yes, you hear the topic, displacement, and we all know what is it about. But I was thinking that, what is this really about for me? And I found very, very fast, I found the concept that I want to talk about the displacement of this normality, which we experienced in Ukraine, and I'm sure in all the countries. And I'm sure here also, the people who really follow the news and who understand that they don't live in a separately country, but they live in the whole world. I'm sure they feel what's happening also in our motherlands. So I really wanted to find the story which will somehow, maybe will not tell about the refugees directly, but it will show what's happening with this new reality, which is displaced the normality. It was somewhere there, and there were different steps in our cooperation, and finally, because I was in Ukraine and it was really not possible to have, for example, shooting in night. It was totally impossible. We could not guarantee any safety for the people and for the crews. Even they were saying, let's shoot. We should find the proper conditions, at least which we can say to ourselves, I did my best and I guarantee security and safety to my crew. So I was following the stories of people who became military service soldiers or doctors, whatever, who just switched their civil life to military services because of war, not because they decided to have a new profession. So they were displaced somehow in their destiny, and it totally changed their emotional flow, and they have to adapt to that new reality. When I finished the movie, I understood I made a first movie about death, and for me it was huge. Yeah.
Thank you. Mo, congratulations on your wonderful film, and I'm interested to hear from you, knowing that you returned to Somalia to make the film and knowing that you have a very unique way of working in a local context. One of the things that we find really rich about the fund is not only the idea of the works that it produces, but also the impact that it has on the other people who are contributing to the creation of the work. So maybe you'd like to share with us a little bit about your process and what it was like to go back to Somalia to make the film.
Thank you very much. You know, when I got also the email of like this opportunity to make a film, I one of the things that I was really most excited about, or I said yes, was to work with my team in a way that we had in Somalia, because in Somalia we don't have a film infrastructure. So I shot there 2 short films and 1 feature film. And basically 70% of the people that worked with us in our feature film and in our shorts, and now with this short, we're for the first time on a film set when we were making partially the feature film and partially the other shorts. So so there was this feeling of like building some kind of an infrastructure in a way, you know, and that was besides that, knowing that although this is a displacement film fund, that it really, the story doesn't have to be about that specifically, but about the experiences or the feelings that you have as someone who lived through, you know, displacement in a way, which I really find interesting, and also gives you a lot of opportunities. Otherwise, it would have been, you know, I think I would. If that was not the case, I think I didn't have anything to tell, because, you know, displacement is also has different stages. I know what's Mohammed now going through, like that's like that phase of displacement, or maybe or I know how it is, you know. So I am now. I feel like I'm now in another stage of, or another phase of that. But what I can definitely say is that. Not only did this opportunity give us the chance to make this story and this film, but also it gave us also the opportunity to work with this team and have an experience and feel like, oh, there's no pressure, there is nothing there, let's just make the film. And And I can proudly say that more than the film, I am in a way happy to know now that I had the opportunity to work with these people. I saw today snippets of the films when we were doing the tech check in the cinema, and whatever I saw, what I could see was in all these films that everyone was somehow looking for, in these clips, although it was like 5 minutes sometimes or less, but I could feel like every one of us is looking for or trying to make a sense of this life and looking for that by making these films, whatever the stories are. And it's true in a way. I think we are making films for maybe for survival in this world, which is really getting worse, where it's easy to be pessimistic about everything that's happening and give up. So yeah, it's a privilege, I think, and I'm happy really to be one of the first who participated in this program.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if it made sense what I said, but yeah.
Completely.
That's the feeling.
It completely did. Hassan, yours is also a very personal story in documentary form, working in a combination of archive material that you have collated over many years and illuminating a friendship and a different phase in the friendship. I think we see even less stories actually of what it is like to go through the process of asylum seeking. And of course, the fact that you and Fadi had ultimately very different journeys. I'm kind of interested in how you, as a filmmaker, when you are part of the subject material, you're taking a very large part of many years of footage, and you're honouring your friend. But how do you work on what is the storyline that you want to illuminate?
Thank you, really thank you in the beginning for the Displacement Film Fund, Kate, all people, they worked behind this grant. Like, I can describe it as a sensitive energy, operation, because every part of this archive, or the whole, the film, when I started to go deeply with the archive, with the footage, with it is part of my life. Every frame, every second, it is a memory. It's what I hold it from my home. It is something I used to escape from the reality to this archive, usually, let's say, every time during my journey from Syria, Turkey, even now in London. Let's say, when you lose the most important thing, you have it, let's say, home. Like when we try to describe something very meaningful, when you meaning home, when you feel home, you meaning this is the most important thing. And when you lose it, you try to bring it in any way. For me as a filmmaker, maybe this is, let's say, this is my way of bring my home. And when I go and when I worked on this film, I can, it's a process for healing myself a little bit. There is 1,000 of questions: who I am, where I am, why I'm here. A lot of those questions come from myself, from the media, from the news, from the numbers of refugees, displacement, why they are here. All this question is around you. And I start the whole process of the film, those questions, sometimes surrounding me, and sometimes, okay, I don't know if I find answer through this process, but I feel definitely after I finished the film, after I, let's say, went through all this question, after I tried to put every feeling from my, let's say, life, from my relationship, friends, family, everything. I tried to put it in this film to, let's say, I don't know if I will find answer, but definitely I feel better. I feel home, and thank you, like Displacement Film Fund, you make it home, and this is the most important things for me personally. And yeah, thank you. Sorry.
And Shah, I've heard you talk very eloquently about your concept of this double displacement, which we see in what I think is a very joyous and surprising film that also has a very clear sort of message to express. Can you share with us how you came up with the concept for Super Afghan Gym and what it means for you?
Yeah, well, I think before replying to your question, I would like to tell you a little bit about my life because we have a lot of time. No, I'm going to give you a synopsis just so you know where I come from. I want to tell you about my starting point. So my family, my parents, they fled Afghanistan during the invasion of Soviets back in the 70s. They fled to Iran, and I was born in Iran. And in Iran, at the time, but also now, since the last 7 years, there is a really like a high, like extreme racism against Afghan refugees and immigrants. And I experienced that as a child. And so I experienced high dose of racism before I understood what racism meant. So it shaped my belief system in a way, so I was always thinking like I'm broken and I'm not enough, and I was taking it personally because I was not familiar with racism. And in Iran, I was always called like Afghan. And I've never been in Afghanistan. I didn't know nothing about Afghanistan. My parents never talk about Afghanistan. So it was always, like I was trying my best to be Iranian. And then when after 11/9, we moved back to Afghanistan, like my parents, decided for the family to move back. In Afghanistan, suddenly everyone called me Iranian. And it felt like, oh, no. So now I have to work very hard to prove that I'm Afghan. And I lived there for for 2 decades, for 20 years. And when I came 4 years ago, when Kabul collapsed and a lot of people, including me and my family, we were evacuated to Germany, then a lot of other people, I had a lot of friends that it was the first time that they left Afghanistan, so they were really experiencing how is life for a refugee, And for me, I didn't feel that. I feel like, I'm back home, because I never had the feeling that I belong to a country where I live. I never had the feeling, neither in Iran or Afghanistan. And in Germany, it was the same. I was always the other, the foreigner, the one who doesn't belong to this place, And it's actually very funny. While a lot of my friends were complaining about racism in Germany, I was telling them, do you really think that this is racism? Go to Iran and experience there, So for me, I was always as I said, for a very long time, even for me, filmmaking was really because I'm not coming from a film school, I just made film and I learned it by making it. For me, it was really a therapy. It is a therapy to finding my voice, finding myself, talking about things that matters in the way that I think they matter. So, when I got called for the Displacement Fund, I was at the middle of the processing, and I just reached to the conclusion that this identity of Iranian, Afghan, foreigner, the other person, displaced person, or whatever, they are just the identities that they are exposed on me from outside. They're not coming from me inside, because from inside, I'm the same person. It doesn't matter what passport I'm holding. It doesn't matter if I'm Iranian or German or Afghan, I'm the same person. I just have the experience of living 11 years in Iran and then 20 years in Afghanistan and 4 years in Germany. I'm a human being with the experience of living in different places. That's it. So it was kind of liberation for me to get rid of all these identities that they were exposed to me, So it was the right time. And when I got the call, I was like, how did they know? It was really a brilliant time. And back to your question, one thing is like this, and then the other was as a woman, as a woman, I also felt like not really home in my own body. And I think the first home of everyone is their body. And this is also this is very connected to the first part that I was talking. This is also another thing, you know, how a woman's body should look like, or what is the beauty definition, you know, to have a big boobs, to have a large boob, to have a big ass, to have not, you know, like, it's just like all these things, and it's very, like, I know that it's a universal topic, but in Iran, but mostly in Afghanistan, it was really like, I was going to this, I was doing like training in this gym, which was a men's gym, and they were very kind to let women to do sport for 1 hour during the day. And the gym was covered with all these muscle men, you know, and I'm just tiny woman, so running on the treadmill, looking at all these men, you know, with muscle. It was like very, very weird. And then I was just decided to, I'm gonna talk about that experience, and because a lot of women, they don't feel home in their body, and there is a lot of pressure on how they should look like. And the funny thing is, like, when I was posting the announcement of Super Afghan Gym on my social media, a lot of Afghan men, they were attacking me. They were saying that, your experience is, you are fabricating it, it's not true, women are not going to the gym in Kabul, you're just making this up. At the same time, a lot of women, they were writing to me in my email, in my message, like inbox, we are going to the gym since the Taliban have taken the country secretly, because we cannot go to work, we cannot, you know, go to school, and there are these gyms here and there secretly that people, like, this is the only excitement, this is the highlight of the day for so many women now. Of course, in big cities, in the villages, that's not even possible. But in Kabul, in Herat, in Mazar, in like big cities, this is the only excitement of the day, because they cannot go anywhere, they cannot do anything. It's like 4 years that their life have been stopped. It's like we have all experience of lockdown, right? Imagine a lockdown for 4 years. The thing is, you cannot even work, you don't have money, there's no news of how the situation gonna be end. So, you know, it was very interesting that a lot of women, they're telling me, like, we are going to the gym, and also, I'm just closing this. It was just also very interesting that, you know, like, since the last 4 years when Taliban have taken Kabul, every day they're very creative, to be stupid in different ways, but every day they're making new laws that you cannot do this and you cannot do that and you cannot, and of course many of them they're for women specifically, but it's very funny that while, you know, like a lot of Afghan men at home, they're just scrolling their phone, like a woman cannot go to school, woman cannot go to gym, woman cannot go to this. At the same time, a lot of women are doing these things anyway, secretly, you know, so it gives me hope that no one can limit human being, because you always, and especially when you cannot, you will find a way to take it and to, you know, to claim your life, to do what you want. Am I too long? No.
And now I will hand over to my terrific colleague, Tamara Tatishvili, maybe for some closing words around the role of HBF and what the experience of bringing these productions into reality has been, and how that sort of differs, I guess, from some of our other funding schemes, the sort of unique duty of care that this fund has needed.
Thank you, Claire. It's a profoundly touching moment for us at Hubert Bals Fund and everyone, so I would really like to acknowledge the presence of all the founding partners here in the room and other enablers, because for me and for my team, particularly Ayumi here, working across all these projects, one of the key words is also solidarity. Because I think without the solidarity that was demonstrated from all the partners, but also how we worked with the filmmakers and the producers here in the room, understanding each other, trying to include each other's opinions and move forward, these films would not be premiering today. So this is absolutely fantastic that we're all here together. The role of the management partner of the Displacement Film Fund came into the momentum when we as Hubert Bals Fund have been reshaping a little bit our purpose, but still standing very close to the historic DNA. For more than 30 years, we've been working with filmmakers that are creating from the position of uncertainty. Those can be geographical, those can be political, they can be personal. And sadly, not a lot of things have changed towards the better. Probably the other way around. And the mission of our fund remains the same. We're trying to be one of the very few still established on the international market that are working with the filmmakers in the context of their origin. And this is exactly what came to a very strong fruition in this in the management of the Displacement Film Fund. If you ask me, I'll be very honest. I have a biography of each and every film of these 5 filmmakers. And I think no one will allow me from the teams to say that I'm lying, because we've really had quite some roads to take together and overcome, and always try to understand what is the purpose, what's the drive, and that it's not only about the stories that are coming alive on the screen, but it's also who's telling them, from which position, and what sort of drive it is bringing. And I have a feeling that with this renewed purpose that HBF has, Displacement Film Fund is not the only direction of travel as a management partner. We have also launched HBF/Brazil co-development support that is of the same type of collaboration. I have a feeling that the filmmakers present here and other partners have helped us to sharpen our focus and bring our historic mission to a new ways of working. And we're very privileged to this and extremely proud that these films are premiering today, because the times are hard, but you are overcoming it with hope. And this is what we should stick to, because these films are terrific, they are different, and they show us what people live and how they can also move forward. So congratulations, all of them. Yeah.
I'm conscious that we're a little over time, and would have liked the opportunity to open up to the floor. But I do just want to express also my gratitude to our colleagues at Phoenix who are hosting us today. It's a very fitting connection. As Rotterdam's new art museum dedicated to migration, a lot of the themes that are reverberating in Phoenix also reverberate in the works that you've seen today. And I really do encourage you to go, and especially to look at the story of migrants, which is a photographic journey that is very, very impressive and very resonant in this context. And if you're interested in that too, our colleagues from the Phoenix Press team are over here. So please connect with them. It leaves me with nothing more to say, but a lot more to feel than to thank all of you hugely. Kate, for your inspiration, and the filmmakers for their incredible works. I feel very, very proud of this initiative. Very proud. Thank you.
So thank you all for coming. Thank you for your interest.
Sure. Thanks. Spread the word.